So it seemed Link was going to accept Malon's invitation immediately. Though he had just seen her that morning, the idea of a visit lifted his spirits. He and his fairy took the road back out of the city, and after a couple of leagues of walking, they reached a turnoff that was parallel to the ranch. A long pathway stemmed from it to the ranch, eventually meeting a modest gate introducing the property. It was nestled in some surrounding knolls, consisting of a pattern of farmlands, a farmhouse, a barn, a silo, a stable, and, to Link's delight, a pasture of grazing horses. Link walked past the farmhouse to his left, the stable and barn to his right. The house was a grotto-style residence made of distressed brick and deteriorating stucco, with accents of exposed timber bays and window shutters. The barn and stable were both far less aesthetic, built from a functional loggia construction. Outside the stable, a man Link had never seen jabbed at a haystack with a pitchfork. He was tall and thin, his parted brown hair dripping in laborious sweat. His eyes appeared to look down the bridge of his bulbous nose, between his bushy eyebrows and his handlebar mustache. Like Talon, he had hair peeking from underneath his tattered shirt and overalls. The man glared bitterly at Link as he passed him, stirring an uncomfortable feeling in him. The pasture was the nearest of the open land, just beyond the back of the stable. In the middle of it was a spacious oblong corral, where the horses were congregated. As Link entered the fenced area, he started to pick up a melody, a gorgeous melody in a gentle tone, a female voice humming in ooze. Link identified the source of the music to be Malon, feeding carrots to a light brown filly in the middle of the large grazing pen. When she noticed his arrival, her dimples raced to her ears with a smile. "It's the fairy boy again." "Malon," Link greeted. "It's nice to see you again so soon." Malon released a carrot from her hand into the small horse's mouth. "I never got to ask you about your visit to the castle. Did you see Princess Zelda?" Malon asked with a buoyant curiosity. "I did. She said she knew I was coming. She had a dream about me," Link answered, Navi fluttering about him. Malon's tone darkened a bit. "Did you get what you needed then?" She was not too knowledgeable on the events at hand, but she did not expect to be. "I did," Link repeated, this time matching her somberness. He eyed the young filly as Malon petted her luscious white mane. "Her name is Epona," she told him. "Isn't she cute?" "She looks like a fine horse," Link said. He noticed this horse was the only one present that was even small enough for him to ride. "The only small one here?" "Yes, but Ingo, our ranch hand, says she has the potential to be a magnificent steed. He says she's fit for the greatest of champions to ride." Link assumed Ingo was the man at the stable. He shook the creepy image of him from his mind. "I need to travel to Kakariko village, way into the Death Mountain range. I was hoping to buy a horse from you to make the journey faster. I can pay 50 rupees for Epona. She looks like the only one I can saddle." Malon laughed. "You know the first thing about riding horseback?" Link felt embarrassed at his misplaced confidence and lack of experience. It doesn't matter." She cut him off with a hand gesture, bringing herself once again to a more serious tone. "Ingo says Epona is not for sale. Besides, Epona's my friend." She looked at her horse's long face. They stood nearly eye to eye. "I understand." Link felt disappointed and rude that he proposed it. "Forgive me." Malon never ceased to surprise Link with her changing emotions as she grinned once more. "Don't apologize. Here, come pet her." Link approached the filly, but it took a step back and huffed in an uncomfortable manner. "It seems Epona is afraid of you, fairy boy." She turned to the horse and began singing the same pretty song, in the ooze of her gentle voice, trying to calm the animal. "My mother composed this song before she died, when I was little. Isn't it nice? You try singing it." "I may be more suited to play it," Link responded as he pulled out Saria's ocarina. "Oh, cute ocarina." "Thanks. Link then found the notes of the hauntingly beautiful melody. Gradually, Epona calmed down and warmed up to Link. She even walked over to him and rubbed him with her snout, neighing happily at the song. "Oh, Epona," Malon exclaimed. "She's grown fond of you, fairy boy." It was then Talon came waddling out to the pasture, telling Malon to go wash up for supper. "Well, I'll be. If it ain't the forest kid. Didn't think you'd visit so soon." He looked the two of them over with a goofy grin. "I want to thank you again for helping Malon find me. That was pretty inconsiderate of me to leave her alone in a big city like that. Hey, how'd you like to marry her? Huh?" Link was taken aback, but Talon immediately belted out a hearty laugh. "Ha ha! I was just kidding, just kidding. I think you're a little young for that, ain't you? Ha ha ha!" Malon stared at her feet, embarrassed. "Hey Link, you want to stay for supper?" he asked with that goofy grin. "I was planning on leaving tomorrow morning for Kakariko Village." "Say no more. Stay here. Ingle'll get you a room ready." So, Link stayed and had a fabulous beef brisket supper with mashed potatoes, biscuits, and milk, prepared by the creepy ranch hand, Ingo. Talon spent the rest of the evening in their living room, drunk off several flagons of wine, with 3 cuckoos whose feathers he caressed as he dozed asleep. Link and Malon talked about many things. Things of the forest, things of the ranch, things of the city. They avoided speaking of the mission Link was on. For once, he slept beautifully, on a straw mattress Ingo made up. At dawn, he enjoyed a scrumptious breakfast of fresh eggs and milk, also prepared by Ingo. Talon graciously gave him a bottle of that milk for the road, labeled with a logo of the Lon Lon cow. Talon was telling him about carriage companies that took paying customers up the treacherous road to Kakariko, but not often enough for Link to take one that day. It appeared that he was going to have to hike the arduous trail which snaked through the foothills that lay before the great Death Mountain, which was indeed a volcano, he learned. The walls of the foothills gently sloped down to Link along the beginning part of the road. Trees and shrubbery dotted the rocky terrain, but Navi said that the fauna thins with elevation. Though the scenery was pleasing, Link's first leg of the journey was more draining than he was expecting. The path was beaten and rough. The sun cooked his body. He had to ration his food stores, and the need to be on alert was vesting. Link ended up encountering a honey boar bear, though it was far off the side of the road and did not attack. He encountered 2 mountain rams entangled in each other's horns as they fought, but they, too, did not attack. As the day turned to dusk, off in the distance he could hear the howls of coyotes or even wolves. But at a point where the trail grew narrower, becoming wedged between steep valley walls, an unexpected treachery took Link by surprise. Once the very last drop of sunlight spilled out of the sky, Link was so thoroughly startled he jumped nearly half his height. Something was digging itself out of the ground before him. Link paused and stared at the moving dirt, reassuring himself that it was just a mole or gopher. But emerging from the soil was a deformed skull, its eyes ablaze with an orange glow. The rest of its skeleton followed as it climbed out of the ground. His heart pounding, Link stepped back as it lurched for him. He unsheathed the Kokiri sword and swung horizontally. The skull toppled and fell to the ground, shattering upon impact. To Link's discouragement, the thing was still walking, flailing its arms in hopes of still attacking. Link swung the blade at its ribcage, and the thing mysteriously disintegrated, turning to ash in the wind. Breathing heavily, Link turned to Navi and asked, "What was that thing?" "That must have been a Style Child," Navi replied, "a product of a curse on their restless bones. With the deaths of its victims, they too become cursed, inflicting their own anguish on the living." It was not over. The sound of shuffling earth filled Link's ears, and all of a sudden, there was a herd of them. Link fought in the manner he did the first, kicking up clouds of magical ash. But it was no use. They kept coming in a steady stream. Link was pushed back by the oncoming pursuers until he was up against the valley wall. Hopelessly warding them off, he tried to think of a plan. "Link, up here!" shouted Navi, leading him towards a precipice above his head. It was perfect. He sheathed his blade, turned around, and grabbed hold of a jutting rock. "Watch out!" Navi warned, fluttering above the precipice. A stout child grabbed for his leg before he could climb too high. Fortunately, Link was able to kick it away, and he clambered up to Navi, barely escaping the dark magic pitfall. Panting, Link fell to the surface of the grassy precipice. "Navi, I can't do this," he said, out of breath. "I'm not cut out for this. If I can't even fight those things, who's to say I can fight Ganondorf?" Came down to it. Link wished himself back in the forest, in his one-room treehouse, or with Saria in the Lost Woods. Why couldn't Zelda send her best knight to retrieve the spiritual stones, and the rest of them to guard her? "Listen," Navi began. "A true hero forges courage out of fear, not grit. A true hero is driven by passion, not obligation. A true hero acts out of humility, not for glory. Greatness is defined by character, not by class. Is that why the Great Deku Tree chose me? Is that why the goddesses chose me? Because I am the only one in this forsaken land who has those? It does not matter why you are chosen. It only matters what you are chosen for." Link sat in silence as he regained his breath. With the Style Children still clawing at the wall below, they had no choice but to spend the night on that shelf on the valley wall. Link lay on the ground, chilled by the cool night air, gazing at the bright full moon that illuminated the tree-thin rock-veined mountains. He deeply thought about Navi's words. He felt bad because he wanted to quit when the Deku Tree was counting on him. Zelda was counting on him. The entire kingdom was counting on him. Finally, he dozed off to sleep, fondling the Kokiri Emerald.